Clerics and Ashes of Creation are the only class that can fill the role of a primary healer. And at the current state, with not being able to choose your secondary archetype, you'll be looked upon for healing the group with a decent amount of crowd control abilities, but very low damage output. Clerics channel mana to convert magical essence into radiant energy, which they can wield to heal their allies or smite their foes. They also excel at providing defensive support by shielding their comrades at arms, cleansing negative status elements, restoring mana to themselves and others, or even bringing a fallen soldier back to life. In today's video, we will be discussing Cleric skill tree, leveling recommendations, rotations, stat priority, weapons and gear choice, and conclude with some extra Cleric tips that will help improve your healing potential. Keep in mind all of this is subject to change as it is still currently in alpha state, but I wanted to get a Cleric video out there for all you Cleric mains that keep the dopamine flowing for the rest of the group. Let's get into it. To begin things, we will dive headfirst into the Cleric skill tree and all it has to offer. To start, we will go over the skills and passives granted to us automatically. Divine Power is the Cleric archetype resource that builds up by healing done or by damage dealt, which increases the chance to critical hit with heals up to 10% at full resource. To be more precise with this definition, overhealing does not provide resource generation, and only radiant damage spells will contribute to the Divine Power resource bar. Here's a quick look at all your radiant damaging spells to give you an idea of how best to generate your Divine Power. Mend instantly launches a healing projectile towards you or a target ally, restoring 115% healing upon arrival. And keep in mind, for self-healing, it might be almost instant, but the time to travel to party members depends on how far away they are. So keep in mind, in some cases, it may take longer than expected to heal. Smite deals radiant damage, and if activated while in melee range, the spell has no cast time. If the target is burning, it becomes conflagrating. Smite will tie in with other abilities and passives to create CC opportunities that we will get into later in the video. And lastly, we have Resurrect, which will revive your target ally with 25% health and mana, which is on a 30-second cooldown. The best thing about this is that it's the same as a battle res, meaning you can cast it even while in combat. With our first skill, we have to choose between either Divine Infusion or Essence Infusion, which both consumes the Divine Power we were just going over. With Divine Infusion, you can consume Divine Power to instantly complete the remaining cast time of any spell currently being cast. The amount of Divine Power consumed is proportional to the amount of cast time remaining. With Essence Infusion, it is a toggled ability, and while active, your spells consume Divine Power instead of mana or health. In my experience with my time as Cleric healing PvE and PvP, I have always used Divine Infusion. Essence Infusion, in my opinion, uses too much Divine Power per spell, making it not as beneficial as per se getting a 4-second cast time Judgment off immediately, healing you or your teammate to full health. Next up, we have 6 skills and 4 passives to choose from. Judgment is one of the strongest healing abilities a Cleric has to offer in their kit. If cast on an ally, restore health equal to 1500% healing to the target. If cast on an enemy, deal radiant damage and apply burning to the target. If the target is shaken, the caster is healed for the damage dealt. Judgment has a 4-second cast time and an 18-second cooldown. Cleansing Wave is a held ability that fires a beam of healing energy toward a target ally. Charging the spell allows the beam to bounce up to 4 additional friendly targets closest to the original, based on how long it was charged. The initial hit heals for 300% healing and reduces with each bounce. In my experience, you only want to run this when you are in a raid, and I personally hardly use this skill. Cleansing Wave is on a 20-second cooldown. Flash Cure has 3 charges, instantly healing your target ally for 250% healing. Flash Cure can also be cast during other activations, for example while you are casting your Judgment spell. You can also Flash Cure another party member that might have been taking damage during that cast time. You can even Flash Cure while you are eating, trying to get mana back. It is a really amazing spell that all clerics must utilize. Also known as the Oh Shit button. to that instant healing output. Flash Cure is on a 6-second cooldown. Soothing Glow has 2 charges and instantly applies Soothing Glow to the target ally, healing for 60% healing every second for 8 seconds. It is your go-to hot, heal over time, for multiple targets, and you want to make sure you utilize properly. Soothing Glow is on an 8-second cooldown. Abundant Soothing Glow is a passive skill that adds an additional Soothing Glow charge, as well as being able to cast it multiple times on said target, extending the duration of Soothing Glow. Deliverance is a held ability that charges up healing on a target ally, scaling in power the longer it is charged, up to 500% healing. This ability is your go-to heal whenever you are getting low on mana and trying not to go. Redemptive Deliverance is a passive skill that will now make deliverance heals more based on the missing health of the target. This ties in great with trying to conserve mana, using it at the last moment possible to utilize healing output and mana consumption. The other 2 passives on the bottom row are going to be for the ability Mend. Plentiful Mend simply adds 2 additional charges, giving you 5 in total, and Escalating Mend makes Mend's healing increase each time it is used in quick succession. Now onto our next set of 7 skills and 5 passives we have to choose from. Bless Weapon. Imbue your target's weapon with Radiant Light, and upon weapon combo finishers, deal additional radiant damage and apply Bless Weapon, granting mana regen, which regenerates 5 mana every 1.5 seconds. Lasts 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 15 stacks. This is imperative to have on yourself or a party member that is getting low on mana throughout your fights. Bountiful Blessed Weapon is a passive skill upgrade for Blessed Weapon. Whenever an ally attacks, whom you have Blessed Weapon on, the passive mana regen now gets applied to both the target and the caster. This is very beneficial and a must-have for better mana regen for you and another party member. Righteous Blessed Weapon is also a passive skill upgrade for Blessed Weapon. While Blessed Weapon is active, weapon attacks have a 20% chance to proc additional radiant damage and apply burning to your target. Defiant Light. Heal target ally for 50% of their maximum health over 10 seconds. If that target would receive fatal damage while under this effect, Defiant Light is consumed and prevents that target's death, healing them for 25% of their maximum health instead. This is another go-to hot that is very good to throw into the rotation. I personally use it early to have it up as time goes on throughout the fight, but it is very nice to have up and ready in PvP for someone that gets chunked fast between CDs of other insta-cast spells to prevent their death, and create more time for other heals to come off CD. Defiant Light is on a 30-second cooldown. Barrier. Sacrifice 25% of your maximum health and apply that much temporary health to target ally for 10 seconds. Does not stack. The big thing here with Barrier is that it does not use mana, which makes it another great option for whenever you are low on mana. I also recommend using Barrier to start fights, or when you know your tank or whoever is about to take big damage to help mitigate that incoming chunk of health they would be losing. Barrier is on a 10-second cooldown. Purify. Removes up to 3 dispellable debuffs from an ally. This will mostly be utilized in later content like the Tower of Carfen. When the zombies shoot out acid, the target must be dispelled before being able to be healed. Purify can also be utilized in PvP when wanting to remove certain debuffs that might create openings for the enemy team. Condemn. Apply Incapacitated, which makes the target unable to move or act, but is broken on damage taken, for 10 seconds. If the target is under the conflagrating debuff, the target becomes stunned for 4 seconds instead. This is the best single target CC the Cleric has in its kit when utilized properly. Condemn is on a 30-second cooldown. Consecrating Wave. Send forth a wave of radiance that deals radiant damage and applies Volatile, which lowers target's magical mitigation by 15% for 6 seconds to all enemies in front of you. Also dispels 1 buff from each target hit that is silenced. In my opinion, this skill is great to have later on in leveling, but only when you are respected to the passive skill upgrade, Restorative Consecrating Wave, which will now additionally heal up to 10 target allies for 250%. Consecrating Wave is on an 18-second cooldown. Divine Flare. Place a targeted area on the ground that heals all targets after several seconds for 1000% healing divided amongst each target hit. Pretty straightforward AoE heal that you will want to let your teammates know it's safe to step in if they need healing. Divine Flare is on a 15-second cooldown. Divine Flare can also be used as CC when spec'd to the passive skill upgrade Divine Retribution. Divine Flare also deals radiant damage and applies silenced to the enemies within its area of effect when it detonates. So utilizing this on caster mobs for PvE and also trying to silence your target in PvP can make a big difference in the fight. Divine Protection is another skill upgrade for Divine Flare, but instead of offensive CC, it is used for a more defensive approach. Divine Flare applies Divine Protection, which is 50% magical mitigation for 5 seconds to allies inside its area before detonation. And finally, our last set of skills and passives. Communal Restoration is one of my favorite abilities the cleric has, and also the most visually pleasing. Communal Restoration is a 2.4 second cast time that restores 150% healing to all party members. Keep in mind, only party and not raid members. It also applies Communal Restoration, which grants temporary health equal to 10% of target's max health, and also heals for 30% healing every second for 5 seconds. In my experience, for the most part, you are using this on cooldown to utilize damage mitigation and HOTS on all party members. Communal Restoration is on a 10-second cooldown. Wings of Salvation. Sprout phoenix-like wings and dash to the target ally, granting Wings of Salvation to the caster and target on arrival, granting temporary health equal to 250% magical power for 5 seconds. This is your sole mobility skill, and as a cleric can be utilized to gap the distance between you and an attacker, or to catch up to your tank or whoever is farthest away in order to get heals off in time. Unyielding Wings of Salvation is a passive skill upgrade for Wings of Salvation, which breaks all disabling effects on the caster when dashing to your target. Primarily used for PvP when you are being focused and trying to dash out. At the current state, this ability is bugged, so I do not recommend speccing into it until it is fixed. Chains of Restraint. Conjure a circle of radiant chains at target location for 8 seconds that deals radiant damage every second. Each weakened target hit by the initial pulse becomes rooted. This skill is another offensive AoE CC that clerics can use to gap the distance between themselves and the attacker, and also create openings for big bursts of damage by clumping the enemies up to utilize the crowd control. And to take the Chains of Restraint even higher, in offensive CC capabilities, you can spec into the passive skill upgrade Binding Chains, which additionally applies stun on the final tick of Chains of Restraint. If you or your team plays around this ability, it can change the course of the fight drastically and increase your damage output in general. So now, we will go over what abilities I recommend taking as you level up. But also keep in mind, most of my journey was with a full group, so this may vary if you are solo or duo leveling by chance. First off, we are going to grab Judgment. Men for the most part will cover you, and hold on to Judgment only for when your team needs that big heal. Next, we are going with Flash Cure to help with keeping up multiple teammates' health while also being able to throw Judgment out for the tank. This is also a toss-up between Soothing Glow as well, but I personally don't think Soothing Glow is that great until you get the skill upgrade, allowing it to stack. But hey, next level we're going with Soothing Glow anyways, to help increase our sustain for multiple targets while being able to keep the tank alive. At level 6, we will now be able to access the second set of abilities and also acquire the Resurrect spell. My first choice is going to be jumping past Blessed Weapon and going for Defiant Light for another hot that can be utilized mainly on the tank or whoever may be low at the time to prevent death. And then at level 7, we will go with Blessed Weapon. For the most part, use it on yourself and make sure to do the complete finisher with your weapon to start getting mana regen. At level 8 is when you choose Bountiful Blessed Weapon, allowing you to get mana regen off teammates, finishers instead of your own. I recommend putting it on the tank or a ranger, whoever auto attacks more frequently. Level 9 will be our first AoE we choose, and that is Divine Flare, which we can heal multiple targets, but also, if utilized correctly, can full heal if you make sure the tank or whoever is the only one standing in the circle. This ability is very important to make sure your teammates know how it works. If they don't need healing, don't stand in it, so others can get more healing since it splits per person inside the circle. At level 10, we will be going back down and finally choosing the skill upgrade for Soothing Glow. Abundant Soothing Glow, allowing us to stack multiple soothes on the same target. At level 11 is another skill upgrade, Plentiful Mend, making it to where we have 5 charges of Mend, increasing our multiple target sustain. Level 12, we will finally be able to acquire the last set of abilities, and we will be choosing the AoE heal, Communal Restoration, further increasing our multiple target healing output. Around level 13, especially if you are in a full group killing 2 to 3 stars, I highly recommend finally getting Deliverance. It helps sustain single target healing without burning through your mana. From here on out, the choices on abilities will depend on how you are leveling, whether it be with a full group, duo, or solo. My last recommendation I will elaborate for is at level 14. You drop Plentiful Mend and use 2 points for Consecrating Wave and Restorative Wave for more AoE healing output for big group pulls and picking it back up at a later time. But now, here's the rest of my choices up to level 25. Most of my leveling experience was with full group content into duo for the mage towards the end around level 23 to 25. As a cleric in big groups, you will often find yourself farming 3-star mobs, and it usually gets to a point where you see how many you can pull at a time in order to be more efficient. This rotation is for max healing output while also considering mana and trying to be the most efficient to reduce having to sit as often. To begin with, I usually cast Blessed Weapon on either the tank or a ranger. Then I start off with a barrier into Defiant Light and Soothing Glow on the tank. If the tank is charging in, I will follow with Divine Flare to give magical mitigation and also getting max output if the tank is the only one inside, therefore healing to full most of the time. After this, I follow up with Communal Restoration, even if party members are full. I will give a shield and regen on my tank and provide a hot for every party member followed up with 1 to 2 mins on each target that needs healing. And if more than 2 to 3 party members are hurt, you throw in a Consecrating Wave and should top off everyone that needs. At this point, if the tank is taking heavy damage, I'm prepping Deliverance, while also being ready to use my Flash Cures to heal if need be. The focus is utilizing Deliverance extra heal if your target is low health. During all this time, we are building up Divine Infusion and holding on to it to use with Judgment to make it an instacast on the tank or whoever needs a full heal. Around this time, I will try to utilize my auto attack finisher to proc mana regen, and after this, I'm throwing out all 3 Soothing Glows, usually 2 on tank, 1 on myself, or whoever needs. Communal Restoration again, and then at this point, we can finally get into our groove of Barrier, Defiant Light, Divine Flare, and Deliverance. On the tank to conserve mana, and only using Communal Restoration and Soothing Glow for AoE heals for the rest of the party. Flash Cure should only be used if absolutely necessary, like during cast times, or even during your auto attacks so you don't cancel your finisher in order to get the proc for mana regen. This is a crucial part to master so you don't run out of mana during those big and usually longer lasting encounters. Step priority for Cleric is pretty straightforward. For PvE, I recommend Intelligence, Wisdom, Mentality, Constitution. for bigger heals, faster cast time, and also mana regen. But for PvP, you'll be focused and you want to make sure you don't die. Therefore, that's why I put Constitution ahead of Mentality for extra survivability at the sake of mana regen. So keep in mind extra comp pieces you might want to hold on to for a later time if no one else needs. A simple breakdown: Intelligence is magical power. Magical power is healing power. Wisdom is cast time. Mentality is mana and mana regen. Constitution, that's health. I imagine most of this is subject to change, but at the current state for PvE, I'm running a full 8-piece Mage Bloom light armor set found from the Clerics and Steel Bloom. For PvP, I swap out 3 pieces and put on Academus heavy armor from Carfen Tower. Then I'll have Con for the stat, and equalizing my magical and physical mitigation to around 33% each. For weapons, I personally recommend two-hand Great Spellsword over Mace and Focus, simply because it's more magical power at the cost of cast time, and with Cleric heals, in my opinion, bigger heals with your hots and instacast spells will go farther than faster cast time for just a small number of abilities. For ranged, I personally recommend Spellbook or Wand, since you are able to apply Burning for your Smite and Condemn combo, or Chilling for your mages in your group. Lastly, I have some extra cleric tips and recommendations for our cleric mains, or anyone who is wanting to fully master the cleric archetype. In every MMO where threat is a factor, healing generates quite a bit of threat, and you want to be careful when pulling mobs. So throw a barrier and a hot or two on the tank prior, and then try your best to wait for the tank to generate threat before you start your rotation. This ability can change the game if utilized properly, and making sure your teammates know how it works will help tenfold. If they don't need healing, don't stand in the circle. It's really that simple, and if done properly, you will have yourself another full heal that you can play around in your rotation. When you find yourself up against zombies or other mobs that poison and prevent healing, you want to focus on not using your Divine Infusion until you need to purify in order to get instant purify out. That extra second gives you time to flash cure if need be and prepare for the next one, finding yourself no longer on the back foot when going up against these mobs. This is pretty straightforward. You mainly want to build up and save your Divine Infusion to use on Judgment, and also Deliverance if need be to get that full heal out instantly. If there are more than 2 to 3 teammates hurt below half, I will use Divine Infusion with my Communal Restoration to get the AoE heal out instantly as well. This is mainly for PvP and more solo content, but utilizing your barrier, which takes health right before your Divine Flare hits, will be a game changer with the flow of the fight, allowing you to focus on doing more damage instead of having to heal yourself. Pretty much gives you a bigger window to do what you need to do by having an extra 25% barrier for free. This combo is fantastic, especially in PvP as well. When you find yourself in between different teammates that need healing, you can close the gap with wings and then instantly hit them with the healing touch to top them off. Utilizing this will be the difference between a friendly barely out of range dying or not. On the off chance you find an opening and you and your teammates are stable after a death, you can utilize your Divine Infusion to pretty much get an instant battle res off mid-fight. Be sure to communicate with your team and have flash cures at hand to throw out while doing so. If you're able to pull it off and it not backfiring, leading to a wipe, your teammates will proceed to call you the GOAT, and all the dopamine is yours. As always, keep in mind any of this is subject to change, and I will do my best to stay updated on the current state of Cleric moving forward. I know there was quite a lot of information here in this video, I wanted to try and cover most of everything to the best of my ability. This is my first time doing a video like this, so any feedback is appreciated to say the least. If you found this helpful at all, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Ashes content in the future. Lastly, I stream almost every day, and especially when Ashes is available to grind, so be sure to catch me live on Twitch and come hang out. Hope to see y'all over there. Until next time, peace.